how's it going? In this video, I want to talk about trusting the format. By trusting the format, I'm comparing DVDs with 4Ks, because, let's be honest, it's the greatest juxtaposition I feel like I could really relate to in terms of what I use, and also just the basics of enduring reliability. In this case, I want to discuss, because this is why I don't want to discuss like VHS, because they can, over a mass amount of rewinding and pausing and whatever, you can really destroy the tape. A DVD, however, of course, in conjunction, was like, oh hey, what if it didn't destroy it by pausing the DVD? And this obviously is a huge discussion when it comes to just quality issues. A lot of people love buying DVDs still, preferably over Blu-ray and 4K as a format, because of a trust in it. A, they already have players that work and TVs that play it, they don't need to spend more money to upgrade, all that kind of stuff. But also just, it's a familiarity. It was around, and still is, and has been around for such a long time, that you just get used to it, and to the touch and the feel of it. Like, you can still so easily buy so many DVD versions of films, in contrast to Blu-rays. And outside of like licensing things because of Sony or even the Blu-ray format and stuff like that, if you contrast a DVD to a 4K, there can be like quite a severe amount of juxtaposition. Sure, DVD is a lower quality thing, even if it's like dual layered and whatnot, but there are so many different elements that I like to contrast between the two. And most of this comes from like the element of how things are tried to be smoother and simpler with 4K, but there are so many problems with the 4K as a format and as discs, and having the TV and having the player and having all the technology that allows you to play it, in contrast to a DVD. So I'll start with DVDs, because DVDs, its promising elements are the factor of interactive menus is like a huge thing for me. Like, I still have so many DVDs that I really like watching because of the interactive menus, because of the special features, and sometimes special features can simply just be a widescreen element to it. Again, an upgrading formula and format as a whole. But you get so many different avenues of that kind of stuff, which is cool. Like, there's bigger cases, you get more room for artwork, that kind of stuff. And there's kind of more of a trust in the format that it'll work for longer. You can get a really scratched up DVD, and most of them will still play, assuming you have a good enough player, because sometimes the hardware is just as important as the software. This is also a thing for 4Ks and Blu-rays in general. Like, they do play better, but they also, if you scratch them or dent them or damage them in some way, they will be much harder to play, if not impossible to play. But in contrast with DVDs, it's like, I have so many that are really worn, that are tired, that are scratched, and yet I put them on a Blu-ray player, for example, and they work perfectly. Like, they're so much easier to read, and you don't have to stress about it. But then, of course, there's the lower qualities of it. It's usually 480p is like the highest quality you can get, which in some pictures, fine. Like, I like to think when it comes to 4Ks, I used to think with like a 4K format of like, oh, you're gonna get like action films and special effects heavy films, stuff that really like showcases like just special elements that can really just be oomphed, you know, by the more higher quality format. Whereas the DVD, it's like, I'm not going to buy like When Harry Met Sally on Blu-ray or 4K, because the DVD is fine. It's just two people walking around talking. Like, you don't need the extra quality. But then there's sound quality issues. There's so many different things that, despite the reliability of the format existing and still existing to today, you know, and even with modern DVDs, because I don't have many modern DVDs. Some of the most modern ones I have is like the Criterion of, I think it's Jigoku or Jiguko? One of the two. It's like the only Criterion DVD I have, because it's the only version of the film that exists. I don't know why, I guess maybe licensing. But like, we got all the old Doctor Who's, and by Doctor Who, by old I mean New Who, like David Tennant and Christopher Eccleston, and we never upgraded any of that stuff over DVD, because there's a familiarity to it. I get comments occasionally on one of the videos I did a couple months back talking about why they're still in production, which for me was a question of, well, if Blu-rays exist, why weren't DVDs eradicated and whatnot? But like, is in terms of developing. And I had someone recently comment how they prefer the familiarity of the format. they like it being in a lower quality. They don't mind it because it's like it has a warmth to it that they really like. And sometimes there could be the argument of, I prefer the color grading or the sound design on the DVD in contrast. And sure, there are elements like that that makes the DVD quite warming and alluring, almost kind of like that nostalgic element to like something like a VHS, but something that plays better than a VHS. But then you contrast that to a Blu-ray and a 4K, and yeah, sure, there's plenty of upsides to Blu-rays and 4Ks. Hell, you could still look at when Harry Met Sally, Shout Factory, did a release of that, which is a 4K scan, and it looks amazing. And like, it really makes the colors pop, the costuming looks beautiful. Everyone looks so goddamn nice, because it's, you know, from the original film elements, it looks so goddamn good. It doesn't need a UHD, not particularly, but the 4K scan on a Blu-ray disc looks so nice. And like, I watched the DVD of that film my whole life until like a year, 2 years ago when the 4K Blu-ray came out. Again, 4K scan on a Blu-ray disc. And it's such a night and day contrast. And it made me love the film more, you know? But also there's that bonus element of, because it's a boutique label, you get extra interviews and commentaries and extra little details that allows you to, as an overall package, really enjoy it. Because the original DVD is like maybe a director commentary and some trailers, you know? Not much. There really is so much to outline of why DVDs and 4Ks are a contrast, but in my mindset, it's currently like quality control things, because sure, 4Ks and Blu-rays can look and sound so much better in general, hence why I have so many and continue to support the format over a DVD. I will, if a film has only been released on DVD in Australia, and there's a lot of films, even modern ones, even Oscar-winning pictures, like the big ones, that only get DVD releases in Australia, that I will just import a US Blu-ray or a UK Blu-ray. Like Past Lives of recent, I got the Blu-ray from Amazon for like $30, you know? Beautiful looking film. I absolutely loved it. I didn't see it in cinemas because I just didn't get around to watching it, but I really loved watching it just at home on my TV. And that's a film of people walking around talking, and it looks stupendous on Blu-ray, but it's also like shot on film, so it just looks fucking amazing anyway. But like, you contrast that to the fact that in Australia it only got a DVD release, which ironically was the exact same price. It was $30 for the DVD, and I got it from America for $30. I could have done probably the same with the UK edition, which I think Mubi did a release of. I think they're the ones who did the UK release. But either way, like, I didn't need that. That release didn't exist at the time, and I'm very happy with the, you know, US Blu-ray, even it being region A. Like, I don't mind, I have a raw region player. Oh my god, that's another thing that's a bit of a problem, isn't it? DVDs are still still region locked. There's just a lot of Blu-rays that allow you to just watch any DVD no matter what, but my main 4K player, I still can't watch any other region of a DVD outside of Region 4, the Australian region, because it's an Australian player. I have a Blu-ray player that allows me to watch any DVD or Blu-ray I have, except if it has Dolby Vision. I don't say except, but more or less, if it has Dolby Vision, I should watch it on the other player, which is just an issue with Sony. But yeah, then you get different elements about... I don't want to dive too much into like, oh, there's color grading differences and this and that, but more of the factor of how, quality-wise, trusting the format. This is where I'm heading to. This is the point of the video. You've got all these elements to a DVD that you will love, you know, that you have loved because, come on, you've been using DVD for years. I know you have. You can't lie to me. You're a camera. Hi. I know my audience has been using DVDs since they were basically invented. Like, it's not unusual. They've been using VHS. They've been using Laserdisc sometimes. And the thing is, there is just this trust with the DVD as a format. Whether you're still buying Blu-rays and have moved on from DVDs as a whole, we're still keeping our DVDs around. Like, there's always those articles that go around saying, oh, I keep all of my old Blu-rays and DVDs because I don't trust the internet age of streaming. I'm like, yeah, you shouldn't anyway. Who the fuck would trust streaming services to keep movies on? I don't. I buy them because I like movies and TV shows. Even if I don't like the product by the end of watching it, I'm like, well, I have it now. That's just my burden to, you know, have, and I can always revisit it at the luxury of as long as the power is still on. And so, when it comes to 4Ks in terms of trusting the format, it's becoming almost more and more problematic at times. And again, this could be a thing of how the film is presented in terms of its picture and audio design. Again, original color grading, revisionist color grading, the sound mixes being like, oh, Dolby Atmos only, or no original mono, or the no original theatrical mix. However film buff kind of like cinephile stuff you want to put it down to, like, oh, it needs to look exactly like it was when it came out, even though maybe the print that you watched looked like shit, but you don't know that because you watched a print that had been going around the circuits for like 6 months. In Australia, that's a very common thing. We're like the last pit stop. But there's also just those elements, like you can compare the images from the Matrix of how, like, oh, this was the trailer, this is what the DVD looked like, this is what the Blu-ray looked like, this is what the 4K looked like, this is what the original film print looked like, and it's like, it is what it is. And it's amusing to look at stuff like that, but then there's also the technical qualities. And this is, again, why I want to bring up DVDs, because you can scratch a DVD, and most of the time they'll still work. They're a pretty resilient format. I mean, sure, they probably will degrade sooner rather than later, but they're still there, and they still work pretty goddamn well. And usually, because I watch them on a Blu-ray player, there's usually no issues with them. I've always found that, personally, that if I watch a DVD on a Blu-ray player, that'll run really smooth. If I do it on a DVD player, there's more chance of them not running as well, but that's simply because, of course, like, what the DVD player uses to read the disc in contrast to what a Blu-ray player uses to read a disc. That's just like fundamentals of hardware. But a 4K disc, on the other hand, the amount of times you can get them scratched, or even Blu-rays in general, scratched or whatever, and it's just, even like you have a tiny speck of dirt on it, and it'll just completely ruin the viewing experience until you clean it. And there's so many prissy little elements about it that, I mean, it does most of our heads in. The amount of times people will be like, oh, I got this in and it's scratched, I gotta return it, gotta get a replacement. And it's not a perfect system. You know, we're lucky that some boutique labels will happily replace things. If you're lucky, the retail store you bought your actual Blu-ray or DVD from might accept the return with your original receipt. But maybe not. Maybe they might also be like, oh, well, you've already opened it and watched it. We don't want your shitty copy of the movie back. Sorry, bye. I don't know, it depends on the store policy, you know? This is where I'm trying to not get, like, I guess, paranoid about it. Get, like, anxiety of, like, oh, I'm putting on this 4K. I've had it for months. I don't have time to return it because I've passed that window. Holy shit, I hope it works, because I buy so many movies, I don't watch them all immediately. I have to hope that they work when I go to watch them in a couple months to a couple years' time. There are so many movies I've watched years after buying them, and most of them ran perfectly. Easy peasy, no problems, thank God. But sometimes there are problems. Say, for example, I think I had a few. King Kong I bought on 4K, and I remember watching it 2 years ago, and it didn't work. I got like 20 minutes in, and the 4K started jittering. I had to put on the Blu-ray. And I'm like, that sucks. But then I watched it the other day, even the extended version, no problems whatsoever. I think it's because in between those years, I bought a new Blu-ray player, a new 4K player, which was the Panasonic, the UB821, the like one of the best ones on the market. And I still have the Sony player, but that Sony player is reserved for like Region A discs and DVDs that are, again, of alternate regions or whatever. Mostly Criterions and just old DVDs that are Region 2. And so I still use that player on the occasion, but for the most part I use the Panasonic for the majority of the time, unless it so happens that the disc stops working whilst I'm watching it on the Panasonic, and I can flip it over to the other player, and hey, look, it works on the Sony. Easy peasy. That's sometimes a lucky situation. But, like, yeah, again, maybe I was watching King Kong on a different player and it just didn't work well enough, so I had to just change the player, and I've gotten a new player since and it worked perfectly. But then at the same time, the other day I was watching... Man, I'm looking at The Thing Blu-ray, and I've realized that because I also have multiple versions of that movie, even a HD DVD, who'd have thought? I have 3 different versions of the 4K disc. mostly because there were three different sets. One was the like Universal Collector's Edition, one of them was the Universal Steelbook, one of them was a German Steelbook. And was it still German or like Malaysian or something? You know, from definitely an Asian country. I can't remember which one, but it was the American, like I think it was maybe Best Buy at the time, their exclusive Steelbook. And I haven't watched that disc of it, but the two Universal ones, at least the ones that were from the UK, I have to watch the Steelbook version, not the collector's set version, because the collector's set version has a disc issue, so then you can't watch the full movie. And that, what the fuck? You know, you're paying for a premium format, and it still fucks up. And that's kind of where this kind of stuff is a bit annoying. You're paying top dollar for something that's meant to be a premium thing, that's meant to be the perfect last end-all be-all. You don't need to buy any other version of this goddamn movie ever in your entire life. Unless it so happens that either 8K starts existing, which is ridiculous, or just there's another special edition that comes with different commentaries and special features, like multiple boutique brands getting the hold of the same movie kind of jam, or I don't know, Criterion and Arrow Video are going head-to-head with Picnic and Rock or whatever. No, the second side. But still, you get what I mean. A UK brand, a US brand, because of distribution rights. And so that's also one of those great things, isn't it? Different companies with different rights holders and whatever. But, yeah, again, I watched the Steelbook version of the 4K and it ran perfectly. No issues. It's the only version of it now that I watch, but I have a third just in case. Also, I have the Scream Factory edition, the Arrow version, the HD DVD. The amount of goddamn versions of that movie I have, I'm pretty sure I have the original Blu-ray as well in a different special edition set. Like, my god, actually I do. I have got like the Turbine edition. I'm pretty sure that has the old Blu-ray as well. I don't know, because I know I have the Scream Factory edition as well. I've got so many editions of this movie. Again, different color timings, different special features. Oh my god. It's its own thing. But then I had, what was another one? The Omen. I was watching the fourth film, and the disc was scratched, so when I clicked play, it was just a black screen. And then because I was on my all-region player, I clicked the information button, and it was said that it was like slowly going 1 second at a time every couple of seconds, and I'm like, oh, the disc is just broken. So I couldn't watch the film. I ended up borrowing it from a friend who, lo and behold, had the DVD. Wow, I wonder if that's a trustworthy thing. Yeah, it was. Watched the DVD, no issues whatsoever. The film looked like it was meant for TV, so the DVD kind of reflected its look perfectly. I didn't need to really watch the Blu-ray. Yet, lo and behold, I ended up putting on the Blu-ray after that because I wanted to watch, just to see if it worked again. Worked perfectly. I cleaned it a little bit, even though I tried cleaning it already, and suddenly it was fine. Like, I'd even emailed Screen Factory to get a replacement. Haha, I forgot they don't ship to Australia, so I could not get a replacement disc. But I bought the set from Amazon for $40, so it was like, $40 and 4 of the 5 movies work, or 4 of the 5 discs work. That's, good enough for me, I guess, but I also would like to watch it, maybe. And then it turns out that the disc also had this really good documentary on it and a really good interview about the writer of the film, which both worked perfectly, and the film seemed to work perfectly as well. So I was like, okay, maybe it just works now, miraculously. So, again, trusting the format, having the old DVD, or at least having the access to it, was great, Worked fine, had no issues. But then the Blu-ray and the 4K, it's like so much panic of, oh my god, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? You buy it new, brand new, and bam, it just stops working after a couple of watches or whatever. Another YouTuber I watched, a movie collector guy, I can't remember his name, he was talking about how he has had to buy alternate versions of 4Ks because they just didn't work. He's just called Movie Collector. That's kind of insane. His videos are really interesting, and I don't mind his reviews as well. He's just called Movie Collector. But yeah, he's just a British guy. And he had a video recently talking about his issue of the 4K format and the fact that he's had to buy multiple versions, usually for really cheap, of other films because the version he has, it doesn't work properly. And it's like, that sucks. Like, this is also a reason why I like getting multi-format sets, you know, a Blu-ray DVD pack or a Blu-ray 4K pack. Like, at least if, like with King Kong, the 4K stopped working, so I put on the Blu-ray, I was still able to watch the rest of the movie. I was disappointed, but I was still able to watch it. Cut to all these years later, and I'm able to watch the 4K with absolutely no issue. I even took it out. I was like, yep, it has no scratches, no dirt, no nothing. Put it in, had no worries. And this is a 3 hour and 20-minute long movie. That's a long time to be in, like, panic mode. So most of the time, you just kind of got to hope for the best. I was watching Heat, which I hadn't watched the 4K of, and lo and behold, I get like 2 hours in, like just before the main heist, and it starts jittering, and I'm like, oh no. Cut to 5 minutes later, in the middle of a phone call, like there's a phone call happening on the screen, and it just cuts to a couple minutes later. I'm like, nope, alright, I'm jumping into the Blu-ray, because clearly when I took it out, the disc was scratched, and this is from Zavvi. I'd bought at like retail price, $50 odd. I can't get that back. It's been 3-4 years since I bought it, because it's like I had already seen the Blu-ray like a month or a few months earlier. I had no interest to watch the 4K immediately, and all these years later it comes and bites me in the ass because I hadn't watched the 4K, and I'm like, oh shit, you know. But then watching the Blu-ray, I was like, you know what, there's not much difference. Like, I don't mind it being a dark picture, because it is a dark picture. That's just the way the film has been shot. It's Michael Mann. Like, come on, that's his shtick, you know? And, like, I'm watching it, I'm like, yeah, I kind of don't mind watching the Blu-ray instead. Like, was it worth buying this Ultimate Collector's Edition version compared to, which is still just a standard case with a slipcover or whatever, in contrast to the original Blu-ray I already had, which was already the director's definitive cut with both discs, you know, Blu-ray and second Blu-ray, which is, you know, special features. No, maybe it was a waste of money. Yeah, sure. And also, when the reviews came out and people were criticizing it, whatever, it didn't fill me with hope. But then I watched it and I was like, I do like the look of the 4K, but I'm pretty happy with the Blu-ray as well. So, yeah, it just sucks that the film just doesn't work after a couple of hours. It might work again in a couple of years' time, like some kind of weird self-healing miracle, but I'm not really faithful to just prayer, in general, really. But it's a concerning thing. But then again, you look at a DVD, and shit, man, I could buy a DVD of Heat, probably. I assume it was released on DVD at some stage, and it would probably look like a DVD, but at least it would be more trustworthy. I mean, whether that's a good enough transfer of it being widescreen or 4:3 or pan and scan or 4:3 but still the widescreen version, which I've had for some films, like oh boy, that was not a great way to watch it, especially on a big ass TV when it's like 4:3 but it's still like, it's like that size. Imagine that for like 2 hours. Yeah, wonderful, isn't it? But look, as much as there is the criticism of the technical and just quality control faults of the 4K and Blu-ray format, again, my preference in getting great picture quality and sound design and special features trumps the warmth and, like, again, nostalgic warmth and the kind of old-fashioned trust I have for a DVD. You know, I'm not going to watch Doctor Who on Disney Plus. I don't know if you know if it's on Disney Plus in Australia, but like, we were watching the latest series of specials. They're all, you know, 4K Dolby Vision on Disney Plus, and it's like, wow, that's insane. You get the Blu-ray, it just doesn't have any of that stuff anymore because they're like, nope, the 4K is restricted to Disney Plus. The Blu-rays are just Blu-ray, which is stupid. But watching that kind of stuff and then watching like the original DVDs, I'm like, man, this shit looks so much better when it was worse. Like all the new special effects and stuff and the new digital cameras, I'm like, man, I kind of like the old DVDs and how shitty it looked, because the shitty effects were shitty. Not really shitty, but like, you know, BBC quality effects of the time. Trust me, if you've seen, you know, David Tennant's Doctor Who, you know what it looks like. And we never upgraded to Blu-ray. The only Blu-rays we got for like those old Doctor Who's was the specials when the Steelbook release came out, because I got it for my brother for his birthday. And the same goes for like the 50th anniversary special. I bought the Blu-ray for my brother because it was a Steelbook, you know. He doesn't care about the Steelbook, but the artwork's really nice, and there was a Blu-ray. Oh, hey, that's kind of cool, you know. And I think also the specials edition came with both animated features. We only had one of them, so it comes with the other one. We haven't watched it, but that doesn't really matter. But yeah, again, that's just because they've got extra space because the discs are nice. So, as much as there is the criticism of what 4Ks can be bad at in contrast to a DVD, it's a complete flip side as well, where the 4K Blu-ray format can have so many quality control faults, and also maybe a personal subjective fault of on your own of just being like, I don't like the color grading, I don't like the sound design, whatever, because of what they've done for the specific version of the release. In contrast to the DVD, where maybe you prefer how it looks on or sounds on that quality. But then again, special features, better quality picture, potentially a special edition release, whatever, the 4K Blu-ray genre format has that extra kick, obviously. But like even per se, and this is a real kicker, I was watching the original Evil Dead the other day, and I watched the Anchor Bay Blu-ray because I got a limited edition version which comes with a bonus DVD disc of just special features. I was watching the Blu-ray release, found that it has the 4:3 version and the widescreen version. And I'm like, oh, well, I should probably watch the 4:3 because that's in this limited edition version. That's why I got it. I forgot that the reason I got it was because of the special features, because turns out my old Blu-ray version was the widescreen release. I didn't realize that the film was not shot for widescreen. It was because of what I thought was a limited edition release that I found out it was shot for 4:3. But the old DVD I have from the Evil Dead Book of the Dead edition, which comes with the original commentary track and the original film transfer, but again, not in 4:3, it's in widescreen. So as much as I get the original commentary track, which is only on that release, it comes with the shitty looking version of the film that's blown up to widescreen. So it already looks shitty because it's a DVD, and then it looks worse because it's blown up. And I'm like, if it was in 4:3, I would be like, this is the best way to watch this movie because it looks shitty, but at least it's in its original aspect ratio and you get that original commentary track. Also, there's the original audio mix, I think. There's 3 different mixes. It's insane. In contrast to what I also have for the 4K release, which has actually both the widescreen and the, actually, I think that's just the 4:3 version. I don't think it comes with the widescreen version. I might be wrong, but I think I am wrong. I know the Blu-ray obviously comes with it, but I'm pretty sure the 4K is just the original aspect ratio. But that also comes with Dolby. No, it's not even Dolby Atmos. It still has the 5.1 mix that the Anchor Bay Blu-ray has. My point there is that I could have easily just watched the 4K UHD, and there wouldn't have been a difference. I had no idea because I just did not look at it until after I watched the movie. But still, I was happy with the Blu-ray. But there's also different edits that's been made to fix quality issues of the film, which is its own kind of George Lucas-y kind of retcon thing that Sam Raimi has done to that original film. But that's its own thing, hence why I have the Book of the Dead edition. Also because it looks cool. So yeah, it's a very up and down road. So as much as there will be arguments that people prefer one thing over the other, there will be reasons why one thing is better than the other, but then one thing is better than the other. So no matter what, it's going to be up to the eye of the beholder. You might prefer DVDs over Blu-rays and 4Ks because you trust them more, they're easier, they're cheaper. Sure, they're slightly bigger by a centimeter or two, but it is a nicer looking case and usually a much more trustworthy case than what you get for Blu-rays. Holy shit, the cases are annoying for Blu-rays, especially the American ones. They suck. They're thin and easily damageable, and my god, the discs just fall out. Whoever designed that element to them, stupid. But, yeah. Anyway, let me know what your thoughts are, if you have a preferred favourite of a DVD versus a 4K. And, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to kind of cover both bases at the same time, but I'm also I think that's, I think I've covered enough. So, yeah, just let me know, and I guess, or not. Thanks for watching. Bye.